Welcome back to The Explainer. So, if you're living in an older home, you absolutely love the character, right? But behind those beautiful walls, there's a literal ticking clock. Yep, we're talking about your plumbing. Today, we're tackling that incredibly stressful but totally solvable headache, the cast iron dilemma. We're going to figure out exactly when you should repair those aging drain pipes and when you just got to bite the bullet and replace them. All right, let's jump right in. You know that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach? You see a damp patch spreading on the basement wall, or maybe a drain that is just stubbornly sluggish. Instantly, the panic sets in, and you're asking yourself, is this a quick weekend fix or a total wallet-draining disaster? Because honestly, the idea of a plumber bringing in sledgehammers to rip open walls or tear up your gorgeous hardwood floors, it's basically a homeowner's worst nightmare. So we really need to know what we're dealing with before any walls get opened up. Look, older homes were built like fortresses, and cast iron is incredibly tough. I mean, there's a reason it was the gold standard for decades, but it's not invincible. Over the years, your plumbing system is basically fighting a two-front war. You've got shifting soil outside, thirsty tree roots hunting for water, and on the inside, just the natural corrosion of the metal itself. Eventually, all of that takes a toll on even the thickest cast iron. So how can you actually tell if your pipes are losing the fight? Let's rapid fire the mean symptoms you really got to watch out for. Obviously, visible leaks are a dead giveaway, but it's also things like those stubborn clogs that just laugh at your store-bought drain cleaner. Or maybe it's that gross lingering sewer gas smell you can't quite track down. And oh yeah, tree root intrusion, which a pro usually finds when they're sneaking a line. If any of this sounds familiar, the stakes are definitely getting higher, and you need to figure out what's going on before you end up with major water damage, or worse, a sewage backup in your living room. No thank you. Okay, which brings us to our first major branch in the decision tree: when to patch and repair. The absolute key here is isolation. A repair is the smart move when the damage is super localized. Plumbers are basically acting like detectives here. They're looking to see if the overall structure of the pipe is actually still solid. Is it literally just a tiny leak at one joint? Maybe a tiny spot of rust on a short section? Or is the issue strictly tied to one specific fixture rather than the main sewer stack? If you've got an isolated leak on a fully visible pipe down in your basement and flow tests prove the rest of the line is working perfectly, well then a quick repair is absolutely the way to go. But what if the news isn't quite so lucky? Let's look at the other side of the coin. Time for a total replacement. You really have to know the hard-hitting signs that your pipe has just reached the end of the line. We are talking widespread systemic corrosion, repeated blockages that just keep happening month after month, visible structural failure, like huge cracks running down the length of the pipe or multiple leaking joints all in a row. And here is a huge red flag. If you're constantly paying a plumber for temporary fixes that never actually hold, yeah, that's a problem. When you start seeing these signs, replacing that whole segment or taking it all the way back to a safe connection point is literally the only way to break the cycle.
And this is exactly why you can't just slap a patch on a dying pipe. It's like putting a tiny Band-Aid on a massive wound. If the inside of your cast iron pipe is heavily pitted or scaled up from decades of rusting, that patch is gonna fail, it's guaranteed. Why? Because the original pipe right underneath the patch is crumbling away at the exact same time. You just cannot anchor a brand new, solid repair onto weak, rotting metal. It's throwing good money after bad, simple as that.
So, let's put these two options head to head to really make it concrete. On the repair side, you're looking for localized damage, a really sound structure overall, and small leaks. For replacement, you're dealing with widespread corrosion, structural failure, and severe interior pitting. Thinking of it this way really clarifies that tipping point. If your plumbing headaches are starting to sound a lot less like the first list and a lot more like the second, well, you're officially moving out of repair territory and into replacement territory. Now, the physical pipe is really only half the story. We've got to talk about hidden costs and root causes. Here's a critical, often overlooked insight: accessibility absolutely drives the economics of plumbing. Even if your pipe only has a tiny crack and is technically totally repairable, how hard is it to get to? If a crew has to do major demolition, busting open your finished floors, tearing down drywall, or ripping through the ceiling just to reach it, the math changes instantly. Doing a tiny partial repair just doesn't make sense anymore. If you're already writing a check for demolition and putting the room back together, replacing a much longer, solid section of pipe while the wall is wide open is so much smarter for your wallet. And you also have to consider what's attacking your pipes from the outside. Things like a shifting foundation, aggressive tree roots, or totally saturated soil. If your pipe cracked because your house is settling or because a 100-year-old oak tree is wrapping its roots around it, snapping in a new piece of pipe, doesn't fix the actual problem. Those external forces are just going to keep attacking. If you don't fix the root cause, like fixing the grading or getting rid of those tree roots, even the best repair job is going to fail all over again.
So, how do you figure all this out without just guessing? You bring in a pro for the professional assessment. You want to know exactly what to expect when a qualified drain specialist knocks on your door. First up, it's almost always going to be a camera inspection. Next, they're going to run practical tests. We're talking pressure tests, drain flow tests, maybe even a dye test to hunt down sneaky hidden leaks. Finally, they're going to review the entire clog and repair history of your home. A true pro isn't just trying to patch today's puddle, they're actively trying to figure out how many years the rest of your system actually has left. Let's zoom in on that camera inspection because it is literally the most powerful tool in their arsenal. They snake a high-definition camera straight down into your drains to see exactly what's going on inside. It maps out problem areas in real time and uncovers stuff you would never, ever see from the outside, like a completely collapsed pipe just sitting under your foundation. This is the ultimate way to know for sure. Is the damage localized, meaning you can just repair it, or is the whole system compromised, meaning a full replacement is your only way out?
I want you to take a second and really absorb this golden rule of owning an older home. The best choice is often the one that minimizes future disruption. Seriously, if a plumbing crew has to rip open your freshly painted living room wall today, you absolutely do not want them doing it again in 2 years. Avoiding opening the exact same wall twice makes replacement the much more stable, predictable, and, let's be real, way less stressful option in a lot of these borderline cases.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. I'm going to leave you with this question. Do you know the true age and state of your home's plumbing right now? Because if you don't, you might literally be sitting on a ticking time bomb. Getting the right info makes that stressful repair versus replace decision incredibly clear. So is it time to be proactive and get a camera inspection before your next tiny leak turns into a massive disaster? Knowing exactly what's going on inside those walls gives you the power to protect your home on your own terms. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and hopefully this helps you tackle your next plumbing adventure with total confidence.